So let's start. Are there already any questions or comments? No, not yet. Perfect. Then we can start with a small warm-up exercise. So normally we do sit down, stand up, but of course today I cannot see you. So we're gonna use a poll. So the first statement is, I know what climate change is. So you can answer yes or you can answer no. So I think we can close this question so we can see the results. Oh, yes. I'm not sure if everybody can see the results, but at least we can see that 39%, 39 of 42 people answered yes. So most of you know what climate change is. And there were also 3 answers stating that you don't know what climate change is. So thanks for responding. And after this lecture or this webinar, you will hopefully know very well a bit more about climate change, and you can also explain it to others. So the next statement is, I am worried about climate change. And let's see if you're worried about climate change. I'm curious to find out. Yes, the majority of you, 90%, answered yes to this question. So 36 out of 40, and 4 of you answered no. So you can see that there's a large group of you that's really concerned about climate change. And personally, I'm also concerned about climate change. So that's why this is also my work, of course. But in the next slide, I'm going to show you a video. And this video, it's a video made by NASA. And you can see the yearly temperatures on a map. So on the bottom, you can see every year. And when we play the video, you see the bar going further into time. What you will notice is that every year is a bit different. So some years are hotter than others, and it also really depends on where you are on how the temperature is relatively changing. But something that's really striking is once we go towards the end of the video, you will see that there will be a lot of warming all over the world. So I will start the video now and you can have a look. So here it's still fluctuating a bit. Some regions are a bit hotter than normal, some are a bit colder than normal. And then the Industrial Revolution came, so a lot of burning of fossil fuels, which I will also explain to you later. And now towards the end of the video, what we see is that there's a lot more red on the map. And especially now, in around 2024, you see a lot of red areas and really high temperatures compared to normal. Yeah, that's really alarming. And also if we look at the records that are being recorded in the last years, there's record after record after record. And every year seems to become even warmer. So what is climate change? So climate change refers to the long-term changes in temperature and weather patterns, and mostly caused by human activities. So it's the changes in the weather patterns, and I will now explain to you what the difference is between weather and climate. So if you would look at a specific location, for example, Savelugu, for the project, we traveled there last 2 weeks. Like 2 weeks ago, we were here. And Savelugu is located in the northern area of Ghana. And what you see on the left is the weather prediction for last Monday. So it was sunny, it was warm, but Tuesday could be really different. So it's really the day-to-day variation of the weather, what's happening outside. But if you would look at the climate is more the average of the weather in a place over a long period of time. So for example, we could say in Savelugu, March is the warmest month of the year in general. And the rainy season would start probably towards the end of April. So these are more general statements. And if we would compare that to a sentence, we could say that climate is what you expect that would happen, and weather is what you get. So what you get when you walk outside of your home, for example. And climate is what you would expect based on the season or the location and period of the year. And if we would compare that to something different, then we could say that weather is your mood and climate is your personality. So for example, I'm a really happy person in general, but it doesn't mean that every day I'm happy. I can also be sad on some days. So now we'll go to the question, like, what is causing these climate changes that we've seen in the last years? To explain that, we have this image on the right, and you can see that around the Earth, we have the atmosphere. And in the atmosphere, there's a lot of greenhouse gases in the air that block the heat from escaping. So there's CO2, for example, carbon dioxide. That's an example of a greenhouse gas. So these greenhouse gases are important to keep us warm. However, because of the burning of fossil fuels like coal and oil, we can now see that the levels of carbon dioxide are increasing in the air. And because of the increasing in the air, there's more warmth and heat being trapped in the atmosphere, resulting in higher temperatures. So, like I explained, it's the burning of the fossil fuels that release those greenhouse gases. So here's some examples that focus on that. So for example, generating power, you need fossil fuels to burn it, but also to generate manufactured goods, or have powering buildings, and using transportation, and also consuming too much. So these are all sources of fossil fuel burning and CO2 and other greenhouse gas emissions. But in addition, we can also see that cutting down forests is a problem, because forests, they absorb carbon dioxide normally, and if you cut them down, they don't absorb the carbon dioxide, and the concentrations in the air will be increasing. And also, if looking at food production, animals also emit greenhouse gases. So there's a lot of different causes for climate change. So if we look at it in the past, like, how has this carbon dioxide in the air, how has it been changing? So we can look up to 800,000 years back in this graph. So of course you're wondering, how do they know what happened 800,000 years ago? But they use ice cores from the South Pole to see in the really old ice layers how much carbon dioxide was trapped in the air during that time. So that's how scientists can make this estimation. And what you can see is that for a really, really long time, the carbon dioxide levels have been fluctuating, but they never went above the 300 parts per million. But since 1911, so that's when we started burning the fossil fuels, we see the steep incline going up until today. It's even higher now, I think, than what we see in the graph. We're having a lot of emissions of carbon dioxide, and also this is what happens in the concentrations of the air. So this really has started after industry, when the burning of fossil fuels started.